all the things he was saying to me made more sense after he left. You have a lot of truth you should
saw you.
share. Yeah. Oh my God, he saw me. He saw me like my kids see me, you know? More about like afterwards, all the things he said, really just like, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, oh my God, that was so true. But when he was here, just the reliance on God, you know, he really relied on God. He truly believed in himself. He really did not believe in, you know, someone has the key to your destiny as much as you and your creator does,
Wow.
you know? And so, and just authenticity is something you can't buy. It's something you can't fake. It's something you cannot put on. It really has to be you. I remember him telling me that. He was like, Boogie, you know, you're real authentic. That's something people can't buy. It's not for sale. You know, no matter how long it takes, you don't lose that.
Yeah.
Even I listen to like his music now. I'm like, oh my God, Hustle was
hear it
just,
differently.
I hear it differently.
Wow.
Lauren London's name is all over the blogs right now. People are saying she has a new husband, that she's moved on. That 8 years after losing Nipsey Hussle, she's finally starting over. And the internet is treating it like breaking news. But when you actually look at what's confirmed versus what's being assumed, the story is completely different from what the headlines are suggesting. Let's break it all down. First, the foundation. Nipsey Hussle, real name Ermias Joseph Asghedom, grew up in the Crenshaw district of South Los Angeles, one of the most gang-heavy, resource-starved neighborhoods in California. And instead of leaving when he made it, he came back and built. He opened Marathon Clothing on Slauson Avenue in 2017, on the same block he used to hustle, creating jobs for people the system had written off. His debut album Victory Lap dropped in 2018, hit number 2 on the Billboard 200, and was nominated for a Grammy. He was 33 years old, a father, an entrepreneur, and one of the most respected community voices hip-hop had produced in years. On March 31, 2019, Nipsey was standing outside that same store, his store, the one he'd built from nothing, when a man named Eric Ronald Holder Jr. showed up. The two had spoken earlier that day, and Nipsey had reportedly told Holder that there were rumors circulating about him snitching. Holder left. Then he came back, armed, and opened fire, hitting Nipsey at least 10 times. He was rushed to the hospital that afternoon and pronounced dead. He was 33 years old. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Tributes came from Beyoncé, Rihanna, Drake, John Legend, Bruno Mars. Former President Barack Obama released a statement. A public memorial drew over 20,000 people. The entire city of Los Angeles grieved publicly. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, Lauren London was shattered. Lauren and Nipsey had been together since 2013. Their relationship wasn't built for cameras or red carpets. It was quiet, deeply rooted, and clearly real to everyone who observed it. They were never legally married, though people often assumed they were. What they had, everyone who knew them said, was the real thing in every way that actually mattered. Together they had a son, Cross Asghedom, born in 2016. Lauren also has a son, Cameron, from her previous relationship with Lil Wayne. When Nipsey died, she wasn't just losing her partner. She was losing the man who was helping her raise her family. Her statement after his death had only 3 words. She said she was completely lost. No PR language, no managed response, just raw, honest devastation. And the world felt every single word of it. What Lauren did in the years that followed is what actually sets this story apart. Because in a culture that moves fast and expects women, especially Black women, to move on quickly and quietly, Lauren London stayed. Not in a way designed to perform grief for public sympathy, but in a real, consistent, deeply personal way that she's spoken about only rarely and always on her own terms. Every year on March 31st, she posts a tribute. Every year without fail. In 2024, on the 5th anniversary of his death, she wrote about March being a month where she holds her breath for 31 straight days, bracing for the pain of that one specific date. She told People magazine in 2023 that she doesn't want to give anyone the misconception that she is at peace and walking around on a cloud. She said, there are days she doesn't want to get up, days she is angry. She called that honesty because that is what real healing actually looks like. Not a clean upward line, but something that goes in every direction depending on the day. The most telling moment came in 2022, when Lauren sat down with Angie Martinez on her podcast, and Angie asked her the question that everyone watching had been wondering. What about love? What about moving on? Is there room in her life for a new relationship? Lauren looked at her and said, "No. Not maybe, not someday, just no." She said many relationships are ego-driven rather than pure, and asked why she would take herself in a vulnerable state back into that when she was actively trying to move away from ego. She said she was in what she called a death of ego space. She spoke about the love she and Nipsey had as a pure love, not something to be chased again or replaced, but something to be honored, complete, past tense, already finished and whole on its own. While she's been carrying all of that privately, Lauren London has also been building publicly in Nipsey's name. She launched a Puma clothing line inspired by him. She's been involved in keeping the Marathon clothing brand alive and connected to his foundation. She's spoken publicly about grief and mental health in ways that have helped people who were also navigating loss without a roadmap. In September 2024, she appeared on A Really Good Cry podcast and talked about the role of faith and vulnerability in getting through something that doesn't really end. It just changes shape over time. Most recently, what she's described for herself is a journey of self-love. She said she has never really functioned in self-love or self-acceptance, and that this is her time to finally learn what that feels like. She said she needs to understand who she is outside of her trauma, her childhood trauma, and then the adult trauma of losing Nipsey. She used the word sovereignty, meaning wholeness, meaning complete within herself, not needing someone else to define that for her. That is not the behavior of a woman preparing to announce a new husband. And yet here's what's actually been confirmed as of right now. Nothing. There is no confirmed report of Lauren London being married. There is no confirmed report of her being in a new relationship. There is no announcement, no verified source, no statement from her or anyone connected to her. What there is a woman who has been living her life, raising her children, honoring Nipsey's memory, and doing personal work on herself that she's talked about publicly in pieces over several years. The question worth asking is, why the internet needs there to be a new man? Why isn't Lauren London just being Lauren London enough of a story? Why does her narrative require a new romantic chapter for it to generate attention? The pressure on women to move on after loss, to show the world they are okay, that grief has an expiration date, that love must be replaced rather than honored, is something Lauren London has been quietly and consistently refusing to perform for 8 years. That refusal doesn't fit neatly into a blog headline, so the blogs write a different story. What's also worth acknowledging is that Eric Ronald Holder was convicted of first-degree murder in July 2022. The jury found he acted with premeditation. He was sentenced to a minimum of 60 years in prison. That chapter, at least in the legal sense, is closed. And Nipsey's legacy has continued to grow in the years since. Victory Lap is now certified double platinum. He posthumously won 2 Grammy Awards in 2020. He received a posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2022. His family runs the Neighborhood Nip Foundation, focused on giving back to South LA. The Marathon clothing store, the very spot where he was killed, is being transformed into a community center for kids, centered on academics and music. The place where they took his life is becoming a place that gives life to the next generation. That is exactly who Nipsey Hussle was. And Lauren London, in everything she has done and refused to do since March 31st, 2019, has reflected that same principle back. She owns her grief, she owns her healing, she owns her timeline, and she has not once, in 8 years, let the blogs, or the comment sections, or the trending topics tell her what chapter she's supposed to be in. That is the real story. Not a headline, not a rumor, a woman who loved somebody completely, lost him violently, and has chosen every day since to keep going in her own way, on her own terms. Drop a comment. Do you think the internet puts too much pressure on women to move on after losing someone?